Hi there, geography students. We're going to talk today about the land of the midnight sun. Land of the midnight sun, Scandinavia. 5 countries in Scandinavia: Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland. Um, Iceland and Finland are republics, sort of like the United States, while the other three Scandinavian nations have constitutional monarchies. And so part of Scandinavia, of course, lie above the Arctic Circle. So the sun never sets for over 2 months each summer, and it never rises for over 2 months each winter. Can you imagine that? Um, During the sun's absence, the northern lights are visible. And so that's an interesting area, a lot different than what we're used to. Even even below the Arctic Circle, they have in the winter they have very little daylight, very short days if they have any at all, and long nights. And so in the summer they have very short nights. So people are called Scandinavians from an ancient center of the Norsemen called Scandia. They did convert to Christianity, but they never had close ties to Rome, and so they quickly became Protestants after the Revolution. I'm sorry, the Reformation. Today, over 90% of all Scandinavians are Lutheran, but they have become pretty well secularized, like a lot of Europe has. And in 2000, Sweden ended state control. Scandinavia is known for its peninsulas. Norway and Sweden share the largest peninsula, which is the Scandinavian Peninsula. The coast is splintered by what's called fjords. Norway's shore stretch is 15,626 miles. If you count going around all the little fjords and all this, for example, their longest fjord is the Sogne Fjord that cuts 227 miles inland. Um, Norway's important cities lie on the coast. A high plateau covers most of Norway, and only 3% of the land is arable. About a quarter of it is forested. Plateau contains several mountain ranges. Bergen, the principal port, lies on the southwest coast, and Norway's cultural center is Oslo, which is its capital. And Oslo refines a lot of oil from the North Sea oil deposits. And that's made Norway a very rich country. It includes one of the world's highest standards of living there. They have a 37.5-hour work week, and most of them are in service industries. Only 1.4% of the workforce is in oil industries, but it accounts for 12.3% of the annual GDP. The third largest exporter of oil in the world. Sweden is the largest Scandinavian country and the fourth largest country in Europe. 1/3 is lowland plains. Mild climate, fertile soil make it Sweden's best agricultural region is the lowland plains. Stockholm is the capital, largest city actually in all of Scandinavia. North Atlantic drift keeps all of Norway's harbors ice-free, but many ports on the Baltic Sea, including Stockholm, freeze in the winter. So we've talked a lot about the North Atlantic drift. Most of Sweden's western border is shared by Norway. Sweden's sparsely populated Northland is considered the last frontier of Europe. And the rivers flow through deep gorges. They have great forests of pine and spruce. And Sweden is a major exporter of timber products. They joined the European Union in 1995, but it does not use the euro. The country has one of the highest life expectancies in the world, while having one of the lowest birth rates. Almost 70% of Sweden's GDP is based on services. Almost 80% of the workforce is unionized. And so they have a reputation for high-tech engineering and metallurgy. Sweden's welfare state set the example for all other Nordic countries, providing cradle-to-the-grave benefits. That is a kind of a model for the Scandinavian countries. Most major expenses are paid from childbirth to burial. The Swedish model began as a mixed economy that allowed businesses to stay in private hands, but they were taxed and regulated heavily, these businesses were. And it also adopted one of the highest income taxes in the world. In the 90s, they began to see the problems of this, and so they started, the change is slow in coming. They started changing some things, but it's interesting. Sweden and a lot of the other, as we look at the continental Europe shortly, I'll tell you a little story about that when we get to Germany. Actually, I'll wait until then to kind of give you an example of how they will provide cradle to the grave benefits, but they also require cradle to the grave regulation. So they're going to regulate your life. If they're going to pay for things, they feel like they have a right to control things also, and that includes your life decisions. Finland has been independent only since 1917. Prior to the time, they had been under Russian control. Finland's language and physical features are related to those of northern Russia. So Finnish language is kind of difficult. It's not Germanic or even Indo-European, but it's Uralic. And so many Finns are learning English or German so they can work and trade a little bit better. They work hard to keep their environment very clean. They have a love of nature. Their only access to the ocean is the Baltic Sea. And so most of Finland's population clusters in the southern coastal lowlands, which enjoy the mildest climate and the best farmland. Less than 1/10 of their land is arable. Helsinki is the capital, the main seaport, and the largest city. It's been called the land of 10,000 lakes because of its southern interior. As many glacial lakes, maybe 100,000. Timber products account for 70% of its exports. Home of the reindeer from Lapland, a lot of reindeer there also. Denmark has been an independent country since 950 and even ruled England for about 30 years, from 1013 to 1042. They lack mineral resources, so their country depends heavily on agriculture and trade. They are firm believers in welfare. They pay one of the highest tax rates in the world. After taxes and duties are added to a new car, its cost triples. The Jutland Peninsula extends northward from Germany and accounts for 70% of Denmark's land area. A rocky plain covers the far north and a sandy plain covers the southwest. They have low hills. Farmers grow barley and raise both beef and dairy cattle. About half of Denmark's people live on 90 islands east of Jutland. Capital city Copenhagen is on Denmark's largest island, Zealand, and it houses 1/4 of the country's population. The word Copenhagen means merchant's port, and it is indeed a strategic port. Their overseas territories have included Iceland, Greenland, the Faroe Islands. Denmark granted Iceland independence in 1918 but retained the other islands. The Faroe Islands and Greenland are now self-ruling provinces within the Kingdom of Denmark, so they are part of the kingdom, but they are self-ruling. Greenland is the largest island in the world, 50 times larger than Denmark. And in reality, 84% of Greenland lies under an ice cap that averages almost a mile thick. People there are a mixture of Eskimo and Danish ancestry. And about 650 miles west of Norway is a land of fire and ice, Iceland. 200 volcanoes, one of which erupts every 5 years. In 1963, Mount Hekla was once thought to conceal the gates of hell. As elsewhere in Scandinavia, the North Atlantic Drift flows around Iceland, warming the southern coast. So temperatures are similar to those in New York City and keep the ports open all year. They're proud of their heritage. The Althing, its National Assembly, was founded in 930. It's the oldest parliamentary assembly still in existence in the world. The Icelandic language is the only Scandinavian tongue that remains unchanged from the Viking era. And so they want to keep their language pure, so a special committee creates new Icelandic words for things like telephones and computers instead of adopting foreign words. Their fjords harbor almost all the population, and the island's 1% of arable land. The main crop is hay for the sheep. They do have some potatoes and turnips that can stand the cool climate. The capital is Reykjavik and houses half the population. They have greenhouses and geothermal energy to provide for that. The barren interior the plateau is 2,500 feet above sea level. Iceland has more hot springs than any other country in the world, and the word geyser comes from Iceland's most spectacular hot spring, the Great Geyser. Continental Europe. Continental Europe refers to the landmass of Western Europe, as opposed to the islands and peninsulas. Most of the continent is a wide coastal lowland. Now, the Reformation divided the continent. Roman Catholicism dominates the south and the west, and Protestant denominations are prominent in the north. France is the largest country by landmass. 4/5 of the people are Roman Catholic. Few Protestants and Jews, but a growing Muslim population. Since 1815, France has gone through 4 kings and 5 republics and numerous constitutions, one for every republic and plus some. Generally, France is lower than flatter. Northern France is lower than flatter than its southern regions. You get down in the southern regions and you run into the Alps. The Great European Plain extends across the north of the European continent from France to Russia. 5 major French rivers are in France, and 3 of them flow through the northern France. On the Seine lies the capital of Paris, almost 10 million people, 3rd largest city in Europe, 2nd largest in Western Europe. It leads the world in sugar beet production, also leads Europe in wheat, and exceeds the U.S. in barley. U.S. doesn't grow that much barley. Plains also extend south of Paris to the basin of the Loire River, the longest river in France. Far western province of France is a peninsula called Brittany. These are descendants of the Celts, C-E-L-T-S, and they're trying to preserve some of their language and desire independence. East of Brittany is the historic Normandy region, famous for the Allied invasion of World War II. 3 provinces are in east central France: Alsace-Lorraine and Franche-Comté. Plateau of Alsace-Lorraine touches the border of Germany. It's been a disputed region between the two in the past. In fact, both wars, World War I and World War II, involved those countries. Southern France has a complex geography of mountains, rivers, and lowlands. All 3 main regions in southern France have mountains exceeding 10,000 feet. Again, you're getting down into the Alps. Southeast France is a favorite vacation spot. Mont Blanc is the highest mountain in the Alps. Mont Blanc at 15,771 feet. Lies near the Italian and Swiss border, and nearby is the deepest cave in the world, the Jean Bernard Cave, which reaches depths of about a mile below the surface. Valley and coast are unique in continental Europe because of the Mediterranean climate. The Mediterranean region in southern France is a major producer of grapes and wine. Lyon, the 3rd largest city in France, lies in the Rhone River Valley. The Alps descend into the Mediterranean Sea and form the island of Corsica. Mountains in Corsica rise 8,800 feet at Mont Cinto. Corsica's beaches are favorite French resorts. Its most famous native was Napoleon. Capitals of the 4 provinces: Toulouse, Clermont-Ferrand, Montpellier, and lies at the Massif Central. Toulouse is an important transportation center. The Pyrenees Mountains rise south of Toulouse and form the border with Spain. The Low Countries. Low Countries are so named because they are entirely on the coastal lowlands and low plateaus. They're small in area, situated on desirable plains, and because of this, they're some of the most densely populated countries in continental Europe. Netherlands has fought a great battle against the sea. Sand dunes 20 feet high protect the inland regions. Much of the land farther inland is below sea level, so they built strong walls of stone and earth called dikes to hold back the seawater. And you can see that, read that on page 121, that shows how the dikes work and how it preserves and provides them extra land. We're going to talk more about the lowlands. They're very important historically, the Low Countries. The area reclaimed from the sea is called polders. They have 12 provinces that form the region of Holland in the Netherlands, which contains 40% of the population. All 3 of the Netherlands' largest cities, Amsterdam, the capital, and the largest city, is on the polder in the province of North Holland. Netherlands is a refuge for Protestants in Catholic Europe. It used to be just the Low Countries, but it was divided, and Belgium became the Catholic area of the Low Countries. And so Brussels is known for the Belgian chocolate. Many international organizations are found there. Flanders in the north and south in the Netherlands is the region of polders and sand plains. Flanders was one of the places where one of the major trading centers in the Middle Ages. Belgium's southern district is called Wallonia, and the northern lowlands are the Ardennes. Belgium is where the world wars were focused, a lot of that in Belgium. And in Luxembourg, one of the oldest countries is in Luxembourg, in between Belgium and Netherlands. Thanks, guys. and I will see you tomorrow.